So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, Villa fans, and welcome to further Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Back again with another podcast today. I just seem to love doing podcasts today, whatever it is. And today I want to talk about somebody who's been linked in the past, but seems to have been re-linked again over the weekend. And that is Pedro Goncalves from Sporting Clube de Portugal. I was told not to call them Sporting Lisbon, that you can call them Sporting Club, you can call them Sporting, or you can call them Sporting Clube de Portugal. And what did I do? I just called them Sporting. I called them the name that you're not supposed to call them. Apparently, you're not supposed to call them that. Apparently, it's not the done thing in Portugal. And as I'm on my buzz at the moment of trying to pronounce people's names correctly when we're doing these scouting podcasts, hence why I tried to pronounce his name, Pedro Goncalves, is how I think you're supposed to pronounce it in Portuguese. If anybody wants to rate my Portuguese pronunciation, I would absolutely love it. Do so, please, in the comments. And he does, as we know, play for Sporting Clube de Portugal, and not the name that I mentioned just there a moment ago. I had one job, and it was not to name. It was not to call him that name that I called him, just because somebody asked me to do it. But yeah, it's really, really interesting player, 24 years of age, literally did the rounds as a youth career, with Braga, Valencia, Wolves, rocked up at Wolves in 2017-2018 season, as a youth player, then broke into their senior squad, but never actually made a league appearance in 2018-2019, and then was sold to Famalicão, I think is how you pronounce it. Once again, I'm expecting bad marks for that one. In 2019-2020, where he went on to play 33 games, scoring 5 goals. And then, as Sporting Clube de Portugal were relieved of the services of a certain Bruno Fernandes, they replaced him with Pedro Goncalves. And he's come into that club and absolutely blown away expectations. Absolutely blown away expectations so far in his career so far as a Sporting player, playing in that kind of left central midfield role, left wing forward role, I suppose you'd kind of call it, attacking central midfielder on the left hand side role. He's played 114 games for Sporting Clube de Portugal, and he scored 54 goals, which I think in anybody's book is a really, really good return. For somebody who's so young. His first season that he came into the club, scored 23 goals in that first season. Second season, he had 15 goals, which was a reduction, but he also had 14 assists in his second season. And so far this season, played 36 games, scored 16 goals. So he's somebody that they trust with a high work rate, somebody that they trust with the ball to create opportunities and also to take opportunities himself. He is a real big contributor to Sporting Clube de Portugal's team, and somebody that will continue to contribute through the rest of the season. And if Aston Villa are interested in him, we should all be interested in that, because he's a really, really good player. Opportunities for Portugal have been few and far between. He's had 2 opportunities, had 2 games, should I say, for Portugal, both of them coming in the 2021 season, where he's 2 caps. But the guy, his performances at club level have just been absolutely fantastic so far in the Liga NOS. And it's something that he's really, really getting into the swing of things, playing in that attacking midfielder role, and he's really rebuilt his career since leaving for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And to be honest with you, he was only 20, I think it was, when he left, maybe 19, 20 when he left Wolves. Just didn't really settle at that period, at that time, it seems. Then he moved back to Portugal, and he's been absolutely knocking it out of the park. So he's used to, and he's familiar with English football. He's familiar with the area from having been at Wolves previously. So if Aston Villa are interested in this guy, it's going to be something that I said we should all be interested in as well. I am going to state this is one of the most highly coveted players in Europe. Some people have asked and maybe posed the question as to why he didn't move in last summer's transfer window. I think it's really a case whereby Ruben Amorim, who's somebody who we were linked with prior to Unai Emery coming in here as well, he really believes in him, and I think the two of them feel that they owe each other an awful lot, considering that their upticks in form have been closely linked together, and I think that they feel they owe each other that time, and that Gonçalves knew that he had to grow as a player, and he's found a fantastic coach, a fantastic mentor, and also a fantastic system to get him to grow into the player that we're seeing now, because he has been quite outstanding for Sporting Clube de Portugal as well. As is always the case, I have some slides, so I'm just going to share up some slides here. As I mentioned there, Pedro Goncalves from Sporting Club. So I wanted to take a look at him in two separate positions. I know I've said he's a central midfield and a central attacking midfielder, and yes, he is a central player, but you will see him drift out to the left side an awful lot. He's got a nickname, and it's, I think how you pronounce it is Pote, P-O-T-E, or sometimes he's called Potinho as well. Sometimes his nickname divulges into that as well. What you're going to notice with somebody is, first of all, look at his radiograph there that you can see. It's outstanding in an attacking sense. And we'll get onto that in a moment. But this guy is absolutely brilliant at finding space. When Sporting Club it's like as if when they were looking for a Bruno Fernandes replacement, they found almost a like for like replacement, except this guy isn't as mouthy on the field, so it seems. And he's actually contributing with the goals in the same way that Bruno Fernandes was. He's super adept at finding space. He's really good at shifting his position, and therefore shifting the point of attack for this Sporting team. He favours the left-hand side, but you'll often find him in a kind of a positionless play. He will move centrally a small bit. He's very good at knowing where his own teammates are around him, having that spatial awareness, and knowing that, okay, my fullback is right up beside me. I don't need to be here too. How's about I bamboozle people here? I move inside. I drag players around the place. He's got unbelievably good spatial awareness, especially when he drops back in between the two lines of midfield and defense. If you're building from the back with somebody like Pedro Goncalves, if you're building from the back, he can drop into those places, pull a player out of position, maybe pull a centre half a bit wider than he's supposed to go because he's dragged a fullback infield slightly. It's something that he's really adept at, and I completely understand that when you're playing in the Portuguese league, it's not going to be at the same level as the Premier League, but you see this guy do it in European football as well, and he's very adept at it. And it's a skill that needs to be learned, and it's a skill that's very well executed by Pedro Goncalves as well. He's for Sporting, he is crucial with regards to ball progression, and that's really due to his movement. And also his dribbling, really adept at the ball at his feet. Very, very good with the ball at his feet. He's a smart passer of the ball. He's a really good crosser of the ball as well, which he doesn't have to cross the ball, if you know what I mean. He's not one of those wide players, skin you and cross the ball in, but he can do it when he gets out there, and he's really adept at it. And when you see him traveling with the ball, dribbling with the ball, he loves to drive and attack in a diagonal fashion. So if he starts off on the left-hand side, he's going to drive diagonally and he's going to pull players out of position. He's confident with the ball at his feet, really composed. I'm loath to make this not even a comparison, but if people want to think slightly, I'm not going to say he's a carbon copy of this, but people want to think slightly about how he could come into this Aston Villa team and play. If you want to think of Jack Grealish the first year that we were back in the Premier League, very, very composed, very adept mover of the ball, carried the ball out of trouble, something that we've lacked since he's left the team. Loved to run diagonally, loved to attack the box, could get down the line and cross one, and if he needed to, and came up with goals. Obviously, this guy's come up with more goals than Jack Grealish, albeit in a different league. And I'm not saying that they are like-for-like players, but if you want to think about how Grealish kind of played on that left-hand side, predominantly, That's kind of where you're going to see this guy. He can play in the centre as well. He's not typecast to play out there. He can play in the centre as well if he needs to, but he's going to be more of that roving playmaker if he does play inside there. I kind of almost wish I didn't make that comparison now, but I think it's a depth. I think it is a depth in how you'll see him change the pace of attack. He'll get the ball, he'll be composed, he'll stand people up, and then he'll drive. And he'll make that change of pace, which can completely move a whole defence, maybe 3 feet to the right, or maybe pull two centre halves apart. Because if he comes back in, centre halves are looking to know where's the space, where's the overlapping fullback, where is this driving run that's going to come past him, maybe where he's going to be able to lay a lovely ball through, or is he going to shoot himself? Do I need to engage him? Do I need to get out to him? He's got an all-round arsenal of skills, as you can see here on this radial graph that we have here in front of him. In front of us, should I say. Defensively as well, and I don't have any real defensive statistics up there, but I want to say defensively, he helps the cause in the same way as Grealish would help the cause for Aston Villa, because he's so composed on the ball. He gives the defence time to settle down. It's not like he's not helter-skelter. He holds on to the ball really well. He's got a real low center of gravity. You think of that low center of gravity player who's difficult to dispossess, good with his feet, and that can carry the ball out of trouble. That's kind of the type of player that he is, and you're going to see it. Another great thing about Pedro Goncalves is that he has a very, very good ability to recover the possession in advanced areas. That's what I think he's the biggest feature that makes him like a Bruno Fernandes is he's able to recover the ball high up, and he's able to flick a switch and turn defense into attack, specifically kind of like Bruno Fernandes was when he first came into the league. And once again, these are two comparisons that I'm loath to make, because one feels like it's stereotypical because he's Portuguese, and the other one feels it's stereotypical because he will be coming into play in that left-hand side for Aston Villa, where Jack Grealish is vacated 2 years ago. So I know that it's going to be a pretty stereotypical comparison to make here, but he has got these abilities. So it's important to mention them and to kind of give people kind of a thinking point about where maybe you might see something similar to before. He is not a carbon copy of these players. He never will be. He's a player in his own right, and he's somebody that is very exciting. Very, very, very exciting. And when we look at his numbers here, I've put him up against Coutinho, I've put him up against Buendia and Bailey. Here, we can see that he far outnumbers the amount of shots taken per 90. His shot on target rate is a lot better than the incumbent players. His shot creating actions are right up there, just under over 4.5 shot creating actions per game. His goal creating actions are way up there, over 6 goal creating actions in a game as well. Gets dispossessed a bit, but you'd expect that from a workhorse of a player, a person that's willing to drive the team forward. He gets possessed less than 2 times per game as well. Dribbles at a very, very decent rate as well. Pass completion rate, it comes in at 77%. Could it be better? It absolutely could, but the reason that I think that's okay is because this guy brings you so much more with regards to what he does in that attacking third. His defensive ability is really good too, and he's going to be somebody who's going to pop up with goals. We need to start diversifying where our goals come from. We need to continue to diversify where our goals from, I suppose. Because we don't have that. Ollie Watkins obviously being on the scoring streak that he's on at this moment in time, which is the 6th of March 2023. That may not always happen, and we need to diversify our scoring threats as well. So this is how he stacks up against these players, and we can see there on our radial graph, he would immediately come in here and be the most creative player that we would have within the team, which is something we're all looking for. Now, to look at him here with regards to a essential midfielder, this is why I don't think Jack, the more central midfielders. I've put a John McGinn in here. I've put a Jacob Ramsey in here. I've put Douglas Luiz in here, because these are guys who are they're trusted with doing something similar, like with regards to Jacob Ramsey is going to be trusted with carrying the ball forward. John McGinn is going to be trusted with carrying the ball forward. But they're also kind of trusted with more of the donkey work, as in you got to recover the ball more, you got to tackle the ball more, and that's why this is so skewed, this map. I completely understand. I don't have people like Boubacar Kamara in here or anything like that. I understand that John McGinn is playing on the right-hand side of a midfield at the moment. I understand that Jacob Ramsey is playing on the left-hand side of a midfield at the moment. But I wanted to show you where this guy's value is going to lie, and this graph really shows it. If we want more creativity within the team, Jacob Ramsey or a John McGinn playing out wide being usurped by somebody like a Pedro Goncalves will bring us more creativity. He's a more naturally creative player. He's not a combative player. Well, it's not, sorry, his numbers don't stack up to him being a combative player. But I think we need that creativity more than we would need. We need that creativity more in certain games, because we see when games don't go our way, we fail to create chances. Yes, we're scoring in every game under Unai Emery, but in some games we're not creating a ton of chances. This guy comes in and does this. Also, another position that this guy could come in and play is that kind of player that plays off an Ollie Watkins type. We play with two up front. We're categorizing it as two up front. When Diaz playing in that position, Coutinho's played in that position as well, behind or beside an Ollie Watkins. Pedro Goncalves, with his movement here, would be absolutely fantastic in that position too. Maybe that's something that we may look at as well. I don't have any statistics in that, but this guy's shooting and attacking statistics are off the charts. They're really, really good, albeit in the Portuguese league, but they stack up far and away better than any player we have in the team at this moment in time. And I think that's something that we need to take into account. Villa are going to be hot and hard on the attacking buzz, I think, over the course of this summer transfer window. I think we will see reinforcements in defence as well. I think we'll be busy in the transfer window. And somebody like a Pedro Goncalves is definitely somebody we should be looking at. He's well known around Europe. He's got a very high profile, and he's doing some really, really good stuff in Portugal at the moment. So I hope you enjoyed this. A little bit of stardust this guy could bring to the Premier League, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, because, as I say, he's somebody that is exciting to watch. I would implore you all to go and watch him wherever you can. Find any clips of him, and you'll see what hopefully you will agree with my synopsis of him. Really appreciate everything you do for the podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. If you do like this, or for watching as well, if you do like this, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Even if you're not an audio podcast guy, I would really, really, really appreciate if you guys could subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on any podcast network that you, or any podcast provider that you use. We are part of the Sports Social Podcast Network as well. If you're interested in any other sporting podcasts to do with Formula One or anything like that, I know Formula One's on the tip of everyone's tongue at the moment because the season has just started. Please check out the Sports Social Podcast Network. And while you're there as well, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You may never even need to listen to it, but we would appreciate it if you subscribe there. Some of our podcasts will be audio only, if in the event that we cannot get video coverage out there. So we would really, really appreciate that. So thanks very much, everybody, for your time today. I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay healthy. And until next time, all that's left to say is up the Villa.